Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Riderpiece Theater. Me, Alistair Dayhawk, and tonight, me proud to present Kamen Rider Gavv, episode 43. So, our story begins where we left off last week with Hanto and Shoma at a cafe, and Hanto makes this reveal to Shoma that he may have found his extended family, that the candyman, the guy who owns this candy store that Shoma constantly visits, could be his long-lost uncle, which leaves Shoma all in shock like, And so we start with the continuation of that scene, and Hanto was like, giving his apologies for doing this behind his back. And he figured, look, I apologize for doing this behind your back, but I figured that one day you will ask, I want to know about my extended family. So he figured, do the research now, and then once Shoma decides that it's time, the information will already be there to give, and the work will already be done. So was Hanto's excuse. And Shoma wasn't angry at all. He was just like, oh, okay. And he wonders, does the Candyman know what actually happened to his sister with the whole granute thing and whatnot? And he just like, no, he doesn't know anything about that. All he knows is that his sister has been missing for 20 years and never returned. And so, Shoma is still holding Hanto's phone with the picture of his mom. All of a sudden, it rings and it has the name of the Candyman. And Shoma's like, hey, I think he is calling you. And so Hanto takes the call, and the Candyman calls Hanto, and he wants to meet with him and continue the conversation. And so Hanto said, okay, let me check my schedule, and I'll get back to you soon. And they hang up, and Hanto asks Shoma, like, what am I supposed to tell this man? Like, give me something. And Shoma's like, look, let me be a part of this meeting. I have questions I want him to answer, and maybe, just maybe tell him the truth. So Hanto said, yeah, okay, if you want to attend to this meeting, you will come in and whatnot. And so, yeah. And we go to the next scene with our favorite reality show / soap opera as the granute world turns. So we get to the president's castle, and Nyelv reports back to the president of, the results of what happened last week. The results were good, and everything is hunky-dory, and the president is, happy about the results, because the presidential election is coming. So he figured, now we know the reason why he wants the candy crack and also the brain control thing, because he's going to tamper with the election results. He wants to be president for God knows how long. So we all know the reason behind the mind control / the impossible order of the candy crack. He wants to control everything. He's pretty much taking Lango's master plan. This is like, this guy took his plan and just amp it up a notch with, I'm also am considering taking over the human world. And speaking of the human world, he shocks Nyelv by telling him that it's time to visit the human world, and it's going to be an inspection. And I've noticed Nyelv with his facial reactions as like he gets shocked to frustration, disappointment. Like Nyelv is like giving me mixed vibes, because he's like, with his facial reactions, that he is not liking, this whole thing. Like, he feels that, I think I'm betting on the wrong horse here. Like, no, he's starting to get frustrated with this guy. Like, now he wants to visit the human world. Really, do you think it's a good idea? But however, Lizelle is like, finally he's gonna go visit the human world, and we're gonna have a father-daughter day and whatnot. So she's the only one who is excited. So we go to the next scene after the opening credits. Hanto takes the Candyman to the Happy Parade offices, and the Candyman was like, wait a minute, this is not your office? Why are you taking me here? And Hanto explains, like, I work with them, like, with their articles. They hire me to write their articles, while at the same time, let me use their offices for work. So everything's cool. Don't worry about it. So they go in, and you see Sachika and an awkward Shoma. And the Candyman is surprised to see him here, because, he constantly sees him at his store, and like, hey, like, I've seen you so many times lately, like, and I see you here, like, what's up? And Shoma said, oh, I work here, and, whatnot. And yeah, you could tell that Hanto and Sachika just gives that, awkward look, like, yeah, this is very awkward, and Shoma's being awkward right now, so, like, yeah. So, in any case, the meeting begins, and this is where the Candyman tells Hanto, ever since their first meeting, plus that near-death experience, and also witnessing this granute monster, that he did his own research and just connected the dots, and he is wondering if it's possible that these people who were missing for the past 20 years has anything to do with these monster aliens known as the granutes. Is it possible that she's been taken by these monsters? And all of a sudden, these two cachizos decided to, knock a glass vase on the ground, and everyone was like all tensed up, and everyone was being awkward, it's tense, and then the Candyman continues on by saying that, is it possible that my sister was taken by these monsters? Which causes Hanto to be like, oh great, I don't know what to say here. And he looks back at Shoma like, what is it that you want me to say to this man, dude? Or are you gonna jump in? And Shoma's like, no, I'm not gonna say anything. Nope. So he got spooked, because Shoma is witnessing the Candyman for the first time being all tensed up, to the point where you see him like close to getting Hanto again by his clothes, and like almost as if he was gonna shake him or something. And it's just, yeah, the situation is so intense, and that made him just like, no, I'm not gonna say anything, which leaves Hanto to be, like, okay, and I'm gonna lie here. Hey, like, look, I just started doing this research, so I'm not completely sure if your sister's kidnapping is related to these monsters. So, yeah, that's all I have. Like, that's all I know. I will have to continue on with my research. And so it causes the Candyman to calm down a bit, and, and just ease down. And he just, yeah, that's it. And that's it. So we go from the tense, scene with everybody in the office to the president and his daughter. And I have to say something here about his disguise. Like, I thought that he's going to get an older disguise, because his voice gives me this vibe that hey, he's like an old man, but instead he gets a disguise of like a mid 30s, like late 20s to 30s, and he looked like he hasn't been in the sun for very long. He looks very pale. His blonde hair and blue eyes are like popping out, and it looks so weird. Like, I'm just saying, like, it's just too much makeup, man. Too much makeup. But in any case, the president and his daughter are walking around Tokyo, and he is impressed by what he is seeing, because at first he assumed that these humans are nothing more than cavemen. They're dumb species, and to see all this all these buildings and all that, he's just like, wow, I didn't imagine that these humans were capable of making all these things. And he was like, oh, all these buildings are made of stone and rock? Really? Well, once I take over the world, these buildings will be put into good use. And yeah, already he's just throwing his weight around, and I'm like, I already have plans. So what are we going to do with this? We're going to do that. We're going to turn everything into a farmhouse. Well, and we're going to take all their buildings. And yeah, it's just all about world domination there. So we go to the next scene. It's a quick scene where we see Jeeb training. He is destroying agents left and right, while Nyelv is getting all this data from the training. And afterwards, the crazed Jeeb is asking his older brother that, hey, is this training going to help me become stronger? Because I want to become stronger to kill Shoma and to finally, have Shida rest in peace. And like, don't worry about it, Jeeb. Everything's going to be fine. Once I get the data from your training, I will find a way to, improve on your new Gavv, and I will get you some new powers or something. Which causes Jeeb to be all happy and giddy. So we go to Shoma and Hanto. They go somewhere, and this scene was all about Shoma really feeling conflicted. After what happened at the office, he's just like, I don't know what to do, Hanto. I want to tell him the truth, but after seeing the Candyman react, I don't know. I just froze, and I'm afraid that if I tell him the truth, it's going to cause him pain, and I may get rejected. It's just, he's thinking all negatively, and he asks Hanto for some advice. And this is where Hanto tells Shoma about what happened to him when he received the truth about his mother being killed and all that stuff. And yes, it's painful, but eventually I got over it. I healed from it. I'm better because now I know the truth. I feel at peace. And I have no regrets of knowing the truth. And Shoma responds with, is it possible if I tell my new uncle the truth, would he be the same way? And Hanto gave an excellent response, which is, well, I can't guarantee that he will respond the same way as I did, because everybody is different. Everybody reacts differently when the truth gets told. So I'm just telling you from my experience, and it's up to you to decide if you want to tell your new uncle the truth. You just have to not be afraid by telling the truth. I know that you have every right to feel a certain way, especially after what you have witnessed back at the office. I get it. I know you're afraid, but you never know. You have to give him that right to know the truth, but so that gave Shoma a lot of things to think about. So, I mean, it's a good scene, and, the bromance is still alive. But yeah, I just think that Hanto said all the right things to Shoma, and it's up to Shoma to decide if he wants to confront his new uncle and really tell him what happened. I mean, he's just afraid of the results, and I can't blame him. And that's human nature, because, when it comes to telling the truth, it's very hard, especially if you've done something wrong. You're fearing the backlash, but eventually the truth will come out, either from you or somebody else, and it might as well take the punches now than to take them later and become 10 times worse. So my advice to Shoma, just tell him the truth right away. Just get it over with. Yeah. So we go to the next scene with Rakita. He's just wandering around, the city, walking about. And then we transition to the president and his daughter, and he sees this building, and he was interested in taking this building to the Ganyu world and just to eat it. And Lizelle was like, ew, why? Us to eat? And the president was like, oh, let me make it clearer. It's for the lower class. It's for the peasants, And you're like, oh, okay. So he decides to take a sample from the building. But when he took the said sample, he took down the entire building and quite possibly killed many people in the process of getting this sample. And Rakita was there, and he confronted Lizelle, and he was wondering, who the hell is this man next to you, Lizelle? And Lizelle tells her father that he is one of the granute hunters. And the president was like, oh, so he is one of those granute hunters that I heard so much about, And he decides to put Rakita to the test. And so Rakita was about to transform, right? But then in the middle of the transformation, one of the butlers took the driver away from him and ends up beating Rakita to a bloody pulp, Hotaro style. And for those who've seen Gotchard, knows what I mean about the Hotaro style. Hotaro and the possessed Sabimaru. And I'll end it there. And I want to add this too before I continue. Talk about karma. Because if you remember earlier in the season where Rakita worked for the stomach company, and you see the fight between him and Shoma, remember that Rakita did the same thing to Shoma. The only difference was that he grabbed his Gavv, and knowing that it's attached to his body, he ended up slamming Shoma repeated on repeat, going slam onto the ground, and it was pretty brutal. I mean, the fight he had with Shoma was very, very brutal. You would think that Shoma would have died. Oh, it was brutal and yet beautiful. So karma hit Rakita. One of the butlers took the driver, and instead of slamming him to the ground like he did Shoma, he ends up getting punched in the face, Hotaro style. And then after a few minutes, the president stopped his butlers, and he was just disappointed. This is a Granute hunter that defeated Lango and Gota? I feel so disappointed. What the hell, man? So he ends up leaving with his daughter, and the butlers just being thugs and just, being all straightening up their suits and everything, and follows the president off. And yeah, almost like the mafia was beating up this innocent fellow. And Rakita comes to and figures out that this man that's with Lizelle is the president because he heard Papa, and immediately calls somebody. Then we go to the next scene with Shoma. He visits his favorite store, and he sees his uncle just sitting there on the table staring at a picture. And this is where Shoma, getting all determined, decides to go in there and speak to his new uncle. The thing was that instead of, hey, I think I have something to tell you, he just hey, I'm here to buy some snacks, because the Candyman was wondering, hey, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm here to get some snacks. I'm like, oh, okay. Which leads to him hey, do you want to try a new candy it was brought here? It's a melon jelly. And so he ends up eating it, and we see him, with his sweet tooth, he likes the jelly. And the Candyman just stares at him, and he just smiles and says that you quickly, you remind me so much of my sister. And we get into flashbacks. First, the Candyman's flashback, where we see him returning from work. You see him in a suit and a suitcase, and you see his sister eating candy, and the same reaction that Shoma did happened there. And then Shoma does his own flashbacks during, his time living with his mom in the granute world, and just the reactions of her eating candy and telling the stories about, the snacks on Earth, that sort of thing. And then we get to see the birth of a new Gochizo. And then the Candyman continues the conversation with, okay, I quit my job, bought the store, because, it's been, our childhood store since we were kids, and whatnot. And this is something that I want my sister to come back to see that I bought this childhood candy store, and hoping that, she and I can work together with this and take care of the store, And so this is where Shoma asks the question of, hey, do you really want to know what happened to your sister? Do you really, really want to know? Knowing that if you know the truth about what happened to her, it will cause you pain. Are you willing to know the truth knowing that pain will come? And he openly admitted that, look, I feared the worst, yes. And yes, I can be a very emotional, weak man. And I wanted Hanto to deny what I imagined the worst. However, my sister, when times are tough, she pushes herself to move forward. And that's when he decided that, I will have to do the same thing. I will have to push forward no matter how, tough things are, because my sister is like that. And then I still have hope that one day she will return. And, she will return and everyone's going to be happy. She's going to see the store. And, I waited 20 years. I can wait a little bit longer. So he is determined that his sister will return, but unfortunately, she can't return, unfortunately. And so in the middle of the conversation, Sachika calls Shoma, and she tells him what happened with Rikita, which causes Shoma to tell his new uncle that, hey, I'm sorry that I have to keep this short, but something has come up. I have to go, and I'll talk to you later. And, he runs away. So we go to the next scene with him and Hanto, and they see Lizelle with the president in disguise as a vampire. He's not really a vampire, but he looks like a vampire. And we finally get the confrontation between the president and our heroes, the Choco Man and the King of Sweets. And he takes off his disguise, shows them, reveals himself. He introduces himself and also makes his intentions known to them, that I'm here to visit the earth. It's an inspection, and I'm here to take over the world soon. And of course, you seriously think we're going to allow you to do that? And so they transform, and the president's like, oh, I see how it is, and he unleashes his butlers. Before I move forward to the fight, I have to say this. Like I mentioned this before, do you seriously think that the humans will allow aliens to take over their world? Do not underestimate humans, Mr. President. Do not underestimate them. Let's say the president does succeed in taking Japan. That's not the entire world here. He's just taking over a country. Can you imagine countries like America, Russia, India, any other country, knowing what went down in Japan? Do you seriously think that they are going to allow this alien to take over and enslave them? That's not going to happen. And remember, we have them nukes. We have them nukes. So the president thinks it's easy to take over the world, which I don't know how he's going to pull it off, because it's going to require every single portal to be open and unleash an army full of granutes and start the invasion. So Shoma, Hanto, and Sachika really need to think of something before that happens, and maybe, just maybe, let the government know. Of course, the government is not going to believe them, but then, the granutes are real, so they need to be prepared. But I don't think the writers will go up to the government and be like, hey, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm here to tell you that the granutes are going to invade our world, and we have to, be prepared. So they're going to not... That's the last resort here. So Shoma, Hanto, and Sachika will be like, yeah, let us just deal with this on our own before we get the government involved. Because getting the government involved is going to be very, very, very bad. And it could be the annihilation of both worlds when you think about it. But in any case, we have the fight between two butlers, and we have the Choco Man and our beloved King of Sweets and Diabetes. And I have to say, the butlers are giving our heroes a run for their money. Because you would think that after dealing with the likes of, the stomach agents, dealing with the likes of Lango and Gota, and now with, Nyelv, that things will be easy. The butlers will be dealt with easily. But no, they're in an entirely different level, and they show for it. But regardless, they managed to defeat the butlers, which impressed the president very much. And he's like, oh, I could see why, they defeated Lango and Gota. They are good. Even though Sachika never had a chance to really show the president his stuff because he got beaten to a pulp. In any case, our heroes defeated the butlers. And then, for a slight second, with a wave of his hand, the president blasts Hanto and Shoma away. You see him demorph, all cuts and bruises, rocks everywhere, And the president's like, yeah, I'm impressed. I'm leaving now, and so long, farewell, until next time. And I don't remember if it was Shoma or Hanto saying this, but one of them said, so this is the power of the Ganyu president. Yep, that's his power. Yep. And then we get to the next scene where, Shoma and Hanto are bandaged up, and Sachika's like, hey, you really got your ass kicked by the president. And Hanto's like, can it, Sachika? We will get him next time. Don't worry about it. And Shoma was not worried about the president either. He was just more worried about his uncle and the truth. So he decided that now is not the time to tell his uncle the truth about what happened with what happened to his mother and him being his nephew. Like, he wants to keep it a secret for now because he feels that he's not ready to handle the truth yet. So, and also Shoma wants to take time as well, really be like, how am I going to approach this? What am I going to say? What am I going to say? And all that stuff. So it's understandable. So he decides to not tell his uncle the truth just yet. And that's it there. But before I move forward to the last scene, I have to say, this scene and concerning the president and his powers, I had like mixed feelings, and I'll tell you why. The president is supposed to be like one of the final bosses of the show. And we saw how powerful he is. His butlers are in the next level. He is strong. And yet, Hanto just brushes the president off. Like, yeah, don't worry about it. Yes, we got our asses kicked, but we will get him next time. On one hand, I like the attitude. I like this, positiveness that, hey, look, we admit that we got our asses kicked pretty badly, but you know what? We will get him next time. I'm not worried. While on the other hand, I feel like this is a bit of a downgrade because the president beats you in 1 second, a wave of his hand without getting really involved. And there's no fear, there's no concern that the president of the Granute world defeated you with a wave of his hand. And there's no concern. There's no fear. It's all like brushing dust from the shoulder, this president is beneath us, he's like any other Ganyu. We will defeat him just like we did Lango, Gota, and the part-timers. He's just another random Ganyut. So I just felt like they're like brushing the president off, even though he demonstrated how powerful he is. While at the same time, I like the confidence. I like I'm not scared of you, Mr. President. We defeated, people like Dr. Nick, Ganyuts like Lango, Gota, and the list goes on and on. You're just another Ganyut that needs to get his ass kicked. But what are your thoughts about that scene, which I hope you guys seen the episode? Did you get the same vibe as I did? Am I thinking too much of it? I don't know. Give me your thoughts and opinions on that. Like, what were your thoughts about that entire scene? About, Hanto being like, the president, we will get him next time. And, it's fine. But, give me your thoughts and opinions on it. And then we get to the final scene of the episode. Nyelv gets the results of Jeep's training. And the results were that the black Gavv is nowhere near the red Gavv. That the red Gavv is supposedly more powerful than the black one. And this causes Nyelv to think that, hey, maybe, just maybe, I'm on the wrong side here. he even said that maybe I should jump ship and join. He didn't actually said the Red Gavv, but as he was saying, such thought, the camera went to Gavv, to Shoma, and be like, yeah, he's thinking of jumping ship and maybe just joining Shoma. Because, Shoma and his crew has been kicking the president's ass, and including their own, for close to a year. And he's like, maybe I should join the winning team. And that's how the episode ends. Now, just to add, Nyelv is a snake. Don't ever trust a snake. He turned his back on his family and joined the president's side. And now he is seeing that maybe joining the president isn't the right move for him to do. So he decides, he's considering joining forces with Shoma and the rest of the granute hunters. Are you out of your mind? And I find it to be very ironic when he and the other members of his own family hates Shoma's guts for just existing. And they did everything within their power to kill him. And yet, Shoma is still whipping their asses. Now, Hanto, Rikita, especially Shoma, will question Nyelv's intentions. And of course, Rikita and Hanto will strongly object of Nyelv joining them. Because we all know that Nyelv has some kind of interior motives. So I'm very interested of this storyline. And yeah, I hope that Shoma's not stupid, but I just hope that he could easily see what Nyelv is trying to do. And with Lango, I still hope that he will swallow his ego and ask Shoma for help. They hate each other, yes, but someone will have to mention, I think Lango will mention to Shoma, look, we do hate each other. However, we do share a common enemy in the president, and he is hell-bent on taking over the earth, turning it into a farm planet to produce the dark treats. Let us stop him, okay? Let us do that. But of course, you can't trust Lango either, because he might backstab Shoma and the others, which I think it's going to happen too. Yeah, and I still think that the president is going to die either by the hands of Nyelv or Lango. One of those two will end up being the final boss. Because honestly, I don't want the president to be the final boss. I really don't like his character at all. He just went in there, took Lango's plan, and just act as if this is all his idea and whatnot. He needs to go. He needs to go. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. So thank you so much for listening. And give me your thoughts and opinions about this episode. Did you watch it? And give me your thoughts and opinions. Do you like it? Did you dislike it? Did I miss anything? Even though I have my notes in front of me, I may have missed a couple of things here and there. My overall opinion about this episode, it just felt meh. Just like last week, it just felt meh. Because this episode should have been an important episode, because the president is here on Earth. And he right now pose a threat. And yet Hanto just brushes it off as if, the president, he is the president of the granute world, but he's just another granute to kick his ass too. It's just another monster to defeat. Nothing more, nothing less. So it fell flat for me. To me, this episode was all about Shoma and his uncle and really be like, should I tell him the truth? Should I not tell him the truth? That is the question. That's the whole episode for me. That's where I got it from. Like the president's arrival was just like, nah. And also Nyelv's possible jumping ship from being from the president's side to Shoma's side. And that's it. That's to sum it all up. Yeah, so thank you so much for listening. Give a like if you like it. Please subscribe. And we're close to the finale, guys. And I've seen posters of, of Gavv and the final stage. Oh, man. It's tough to see this show go. Like, it had a couple of hiccups that I wish the creator would have just expanded. But there's no such thing as a perfect show. And I do consider this season to be in the top 10. And yeah. Oh man, I just dread the final episode. Oh man, but all good things must come to an end, right? All right, I need to stop blabbling now. So thank you so much for listening again. Give a like if you like it. Please subscribe, and I'll see you all on the other side of oblivion. Johnny!